TheAdvocateChannel.com looks at the world through the lens of equality and inclusion. Subscribe, like, and share now. AC 24/7's top story countdown continues with our producer's pick for number 3.
A rare glimpse inside Putin's secret train. With leaked documents shown to CNN,
Это поезд под президента. Я не знаю, как еще сказать.
Revealing how the Kremlin leader travels amid increasingly tight security and luxury.
He's surrounded by enemies, and psychologically he wants to feel protected.
From outside, train number 1, as it's dubbed in Russia, seems ordinary. Its heavily armoured carriages purposely disguised with regular Russian railways paintwork and grime. State media was once allowed inside, recording President Putin meeting transport officials in a sumptuous boardroom. The train's other 20 or so carriages, some updated as recently as last year, have remained a closely guarded secret until now. Zircon Service is a Russian company that builds what it calls elite wagons for its clients, specialising in luxury designs for private and state corporations, and of course, the Kremlin. Among a trove of documents, including blueprints, letters and images obtained exclusively by the Russian Investigative Dossier Center and shared with CNN, is one from Zircon Service, dated August 2018, notifying the Kremlin of a test run for what it calls the sports health wagon that's been ordered. Accompanying photos show what the dossier centre says is Putin's private gym on board the train. As recently as last year, the Kremlin was looking to upgrade the gym with American equipment to replace the Italian machines originally installed. A former member of Putin's personal protection service, who says he fitted the train's secure communications equipment before defecting from Russia, told the dossier centre the Kremlin leader started travelling by train more regularly in the build-up to the invasion of Ukraine last year.
Самолеты, они все отображаются. А поезд, сколько таких серых поездов. Тем более они никаким образом нигде там не отслеживаются на каком-нибудь таком вот информационном ресурсе. Это просто момент такой для скрытности, то есть для перемещения, чтобы никто не знал, кто куда.
But discretion for the Russian president doesn't mean discomfort. Leaked plans for the train also show a luxurious spa on board, including a Turkish steam bath. And according to the dossier centre, a fully equipped cosmetology suite with a massage table and high-end beauty equipment. Now, the Kremlin disputes the dossier centre's findings, telling CNN that President Putin neither owns nor uses a railway car like the one described. But in the aftermath of a recent armed rebellion here in Russia, in which Putin's authority was threatened, the focus on his isolated existence is higher than ever. And the idea of Putin being pampered as he travels incognito by armoured train underlines how strangely cloistered the Kremlin leader has become, even paranoid and besieged, according to his former speechwriter. Why is it, do you think, that Vladimir Putin and the Kremlin has spent such large sums of money planning and constructing this armoured presidential train?
He's losing the war, he's losing politics, losing popularity, he's getting more and more enemies, committing more and more crimes. He cannot build political walls, so he wants to build the walls of concrete and armour, physical defence. There are signs that's an image the Kremlin knows it should shed. And recent weeks have seen Putin more publicly engaged than he has been for years. But in his increasingly hostile world, the security and luxury of train number 1 may be sanctuary indeed.
Like the Advocate channel on Facebook for the best way to get updates on stories that advocate for equality, justice, our rights, and more. AC 24/7 continues with today's top 2 pick.
New questions about the secret damning report called Operation Fouled Anchor, which revealed a decades-long history of substantiated sexual abuse, including rapes, at the Coast Guard Academy, according to documents viewed exclusively by CNN. The assaults were treated as minor misconduct by Coast Guard Command and were usually covered up. Victims were often punished. The investigation ran from 2014 to 2019, but only reviewed sexual assaults from the late 80s to 2006, leaving a major gap in its findings.
The Coast Guard has failed the victims. And the worst part is the culture and the environment that they still have at the academy is allowing this behavior to continue.
Carrie Carwin says she was sexually assaulted in 1995 and even wrote about the incident in her journal at the time, saying a football player came to her room, quote, bit my neck and felt up my chest.
Luckily, I got away and he left, but he said he was going to come back and finish what he started. And I was terrified. This guy was bigger than me, he was stronger than me, and I didn't have roommates and I didn't know how to protect myself.
She reported her attack at the time, but the Coast Guard Academy only gave him demerits and assigned him to write an essay. That same cadet would be accused of multiple other assaults, including rape, according to records viewed by CNN.
We are not being attacked by somebody who's a complete stranger that we never see again. You're repeatedly getting traumatized by this individual because you're stuck in the environment with them.
Carwin says she was hoping for change when the Coast Guard reopened her case and dozens of others with Operation Fouled Anchor, but that didn't happen.
There was no, here's what the results were and this is what we're doing about it and this is the Coast Guard's way forward.
Instead, Coast Guard officials kept the problem secret for years. A source telling CNN the report was, quote, very centrally controlled, similar to how a classified report would be treated. The Coast Guard only briefed Congress last month after CNN started asking questions. Now senators are demanding answers.
We are looking for accountability. We want to know what steps have been taken to make sure this never happens again.
This episode is probably the most shameful and disgraceful incident of cover-up of sexual assault that I have seen in the United States military ever.
Of the dozens of old sexual assault cases examined, only one person was ever prosecuted. The charge against him was dismissed when a court ruled the statute of limitations had run out. Many of the alleged perpetrators graduated from the academy and went on to high-ranking positions in the Coast Guard or other branches of the military. The man Carrie Carwin says assaulted her ended up retiring from the Coast Guard with full benefits.
The victims don't feel like the Coast Guard handled their situation well. Their attackers have gone on to have careers, retired with benefits, and yet the victims have never stopped suffering.
CNN has spoken to more than a dozen former cadets who say they were assaulted over the years, some more recently.
We need to talk about it.
This woman, who says she was raped 3 times, just graduated from the Coast Guard Academy last year.
So you have to wonder if they had released this report, if they had done more to crack down on sexual assault, how your experience would have been different.
I often find myself wondering what my future would have been like. Time and time again, the academy and the institution don't protect their people. It did nothing to save me when I was asking for help, and it's devastating.
All our allies agreed Ukraine's future lies in NATO.
The promise of future NATO membership for Ukraine, but no invitation yet.
Ukrainian delegation is bringing home significant security victory for the Ukraine, for our country, for our people, for our children.
Victory in the form of substantial security guarantees and aid, confirmed by G7 leaders Wednesday, designed to strengthen Ukraine's economic and military resilience against Russia's aggression.
You have to know that you spend this money for not just for fighting. You spend this money for our lives.
I hope we finally have put to bed the notion about whether or not Ukraine is welcome in NATO. It's going to happen.
Still, no timeline was given as NATO leaders balanced diplomacy and global security.
If Ukraine were admitted to NATO today, that would mean NATO would be at war with Russia today.
But the alliance did commit to streamlining Ukraine's path to membership. In Russia, the Kremlin issued a warning regarding summit events Wednesday, saying NATO security guarantees for Ukraine would only endanger Europe's future for years to come. A warning that didn't dent U.S. resolve.
We will not waver. We will not waver.
I'm Laura Aguirre reporting.